really any report that we set up for you on a third-party remittance product type of report, you don't have to go in and separate how these things are being purchased if you have multiple different GL accounts for different products. So prior to us setting this report up for this client, they would go in and they would purchase their GAP and they would post their GAP because GAP is on a different account than all of their aftermarket, and then an even different account for their ESC, VSC. So they would go purchase their VSC and then post that one. They're doing that for 30 different locations over 2 people. So as you can imagine, that was taking them a really long time to have to go in, do one thing, post it, go in, pull another schedule, post it. You can take all of that information, dump it directly into Acumatic, and based on the contract number or the plan code or something, we're going to have the ability to understand what you sold, who you sold it to, do a stock number or a customer number lookup. We can even go so far as to add schedule cleaning, which I'm going to show you an example of in my next report. But schedule cleaning for this type of report is a big game changer. It's going to help you catch errors before you purchase the contract, which is going to in turn save you cancellation fees and just extra time in having to track down the error that was made by purchasing the incorrect contract. Again, based on the way that this dealer does business, we're giving them the ability to load as many as 30 stores at a time, and then we give them a tab for each of their locations. These are just their internal store codes. Next, I want to show you a finance reserve statement, and this one's going to have schedule cleaning on it. So basically what I'm loading here is I have a Toyota retail reserve statement. I have a lookup file that is going to solve a scenario question for me that I'll go into here in a second. And then I'm also loading their reserve schedule. I'm going to load those all together. And this dealer is a 2-point dealer. They have a very unique setup in terms of the way that they handle their F&I chargebacks. So each of their F&I managers has a GL account that's dedicated to them for all of these different scenarios, being which store did they sell out of, new or used, what type of product did they sell. With that information, we built a dictionary behind the scenes that takes the scenario and breaks it down to the appropriate chargeback account. So there's a couple different things happening here. You can see that we've got our payoff chargebacks being coded correctly to those chargeback accounts based on that F&I manager scenario. The other thing that we're doing with this report is we're doing schedule cleaning. So this is an example of schedule cleaning. I know in the beginning I told you I loaded the finance reserve schedule. We work with you on onboarding to understand what is your write-off threshold, and then what are your write-off schematics, basically. This dealer has a $10 threshold, and then we take that based on, again, who sold it, and we establish what that chargeback account is going to be. So what's happening here is we set up $1408.32 for a finance reserve in the deal. Toyota, however, paid us $1411.56. I could certainly post the $1411.56, but then I'm going to have to pay somebody to come back and clean that schedule when I could just set up schedule cleaning with an Acumatic, establish what my comfortable threshold is, and I can change that at any time. I have a lot of clients who start with a penny just so that they're comfortable with the way things are working, and then they move it up from there. You can also just set it at, I don't have a limit, I just don't want to have to see these things again and write those off. So we're going to take care of any cleaning entries within the entry itself. Those are always going to be directly below the entry so you can understand what's happening here. And again, you can start to see where those chargeback accounts just know where they're supposed to go based off of that scenario. This is going to work for all sorts of chargebacks and cancellations. We can even compare your cancellations on your finance reserves to a cancellation schedule and call out items that are maybe needing your staff's attention, where you need to go back to the bank and provide a reason for why their chargeback was different than your refund. So lots of ways with this report to be able to save you a ton of time and a lot of money in the long run. Next, I'm going to jump into our payroll bucket. Our payroll bucket really has a lot of different things that we can support. One of our most popular items is just posting payroll. A lot of us use an outside payroll provider who doesn't necessarily always integrate or create a posting for our actual DMS. So what I'm doing is taking a Paylocity payroll report, dumping it into Acumatic, and Acumatic is creating this very intense entry for a dealer track client. I'll tell you, there's no scenario that's too complicated. We can deal with all sorts of situations, even where you've got intercompany, you have people moving back and forth between the stores, percentage splits between departments, all that good stuff. We're going to take that entry and create it for you. And as you can see, within a matter of seconds, we were able to create a almost 2,000 line entry. Payroll's ready. I simply come in to my configuration area. I may need to have a couple of items filled out, but for almost 1,800 lines, I'm only missing a couple of controls. And then I have the ability to set my date, set my reference, whatever it is that you want to control. We always give you the control to make sure that you're setting those things the way that you want to.
Hey, Jen, just for folks who are maybe not the ones posting payroll, how long does that typically take someone to do an entry this big?
Hours up to days. It's an 1,800 line entry where, unless you're savvy enough to just do the math and have the formulas in Excel, remember where these things are supposed to be going, it can take a really long time to get payroll posted.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, thanks.
So again, for this happens to be a different DMS this time. This is for dealer track. For most of our other DMSs, you're simply going to click that download button, and we're going to give you back a totally ready to post back into your system appropriate file, right? So this happens to be that .gle.txt. Most of our others are going to be in an Excel or a CSV format, but it's perfect. You don't have to touch it. You load it, you click a button, you move on with your day. Again, payroll really can be what you need it to be. We can post benefits, we can post tech flag hours, we can post your payroll, we can clean your payroll schedules, your benefit schedules, whatever you need us to do there, we're able to automate that for you. Next, I'm going to move into a floor plan reconciliation.
Actually, Jen, before I let you do that, I'm so sorry. We had a question come through and it's timely, so I want to ask it. Someone asked for payroll. Does the report need to be done by dealership, or can you report all dealerships at once for different dealer track entities?
That's a great question. So we can really set it up the way that you want to set it up, right? If you need it to be separated, we're going to separate it for you. If you have, let's say, 6 reports that you want to feed into one entry, we can do that for you too. It's really, truly, and that goes for everything, not just payroll, right? It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Oftentimes, having a single report that lets you do a whole lot with that single report is going to give you a better return on your time investment in Acumatic. But we're going to be able to set that up however you want that to be set up.
Thanks, and thanks for the question, Michael. And if anyone else has questions, throw them in there. I'll keep interrupting Jen all day. Sorry, Jen, back to flooring recons.
Flooring recon. Okay, so flooring recon is one of my favorite reports that we do, honestly, just because I've done 1,000 of these in my career. They're admittedly not the world's most complicated reconciliations in the world to do. However, what I love to say is there is absolutely no way that you can do your flooring reconciliation as fast as Acumatic can do it for you. And the beauty here is not only are we doing the reconciliation itself, and our reconciliation is always going to be a 3-point reconciliation where we establish upon onboarding my bank collateral line matched to the appropriate deal account. We're also going to do a full 17-digit VIN comparison. That's super important. And then we're going to compare the amount on the DMS to the amount on the bank. We're going to give you all of those differences, and hopefully everything is just set to 0. We love that when everything ties perfectly. Normally that's not something that happens, but for both of these tabs, this dealer happens to have just new and used. Again, this would be set up the way your floor plans are set up, even to the extent where you have multiple locations on any given floor plan. We can set up this report to work however you need that to work. This download all button is going to give you both the new and used reconciliation in an Excel format so that you can use that for your monthly floor plan audit and all of those things that you need to recap for your month-end book. The coolest thing about this report, in my personal opinion, is that we also calculate your curtailment and interest entry. As somebody who's done a lot of bank reconciliations in my career, this is most often one of the entries that gets missed or posted inappropriately. So what we're going to do, again, at onboarding is work with you to understand where should your interest charges go? How do you break out your insurance charges? Do you have equity, and what does that equity entry look like? And then we're going to work with you on the curtailments and make that offsetting entry that your bank is going to pull, whether you like it or not, on the 10th of the next month. So this is one of my favorite reports to show because you just can't do it as fast as Acumatic can and as correctly as Acumatic can. Okay, last report I'm going to show you, and I think that this report is one that is probably timely. I know finding title clerks, as I'm looking at things on LinkedIn, title clerks and warranty clerks are big in demand right now. Regardless of whether you have a situation where you're using an EDR or you're just getting a fee sheet from a DOT office. We can take those and automate your licensing entry. And again, this is one that I'm going to show you where we have schedule cleaning. It's super important that things with licensing get moved to the appropriate place. So as we all know, licensing can have refunds, things that need to be collected, things that maybe just get written off because that's what our threshold says we're comfortable with doing. This entry is going to create all of those movements that take place, whether it's I'm writing off up to $5, any difference I need to refund to a client, I want to move to a payable account, any difference that I need to collect from a client, I want to move to a receivable account. That's specific so that I can just give it to my F&I managers, right? The beautiful thing about Acumatic is that maybe your process today leaves you open for just things to get missed. Maybe you want to create a specific place for things that need to be collected from a licensing standpoint by your F&I managers and your sales folks. Great, let's set that account up and let's get those things written off to that specific account. Whatever your licensing parameters are, we're going to be able to automate that with you and make this so that you just take a schedule and you take your remittance and we create the entire entry. And then your licensing folks have all of that time back to just go in and get your licensing done appropriately so that things are where they need to be. Okay, that's everything I had on my list to demo to you guys. Caitlin, is there any other questions or things that I can answer at this point? Caitlin, I think you might be muted. Got it.
It wasn't. That's classic. There are plenty of questions in here, but nothing like crazy timely. So maybe what we'll do is just transition into the true question and answer. Let me get my screen back up here. I know that, again, everybody's time is really valuable. So if you do have to hop, feel free to email us, call us directly. Don't call right now because it'll go to my phone and but feel free to submit questions that way. We'd love to chat and set up a personalized demonstration. But yeah, if y'all are ready, we can do some questions. Are you there, Emma?
I'm here. I was lost in Jen's demonstration. That was fantastic, Jen. I don't know that we've ever had such an in-depth, it was more than a demonstration. I feel like it was training. Yeah. I'm wondering if Acumatic ever gets a day off because Acumatic is like earning its keep.
Yeah, but well, the dealers never get a day off, and so thereby neither do we.
Yeah, exactly. What a great presentation. I have to say off the top, I also loved, just mentioning how you came about at Acumatic, Jen, just that, Toby approached you to be in the beta program and you kind of said like, that's okay, I have this solved. And then lo and behold, it's saving, I think you and your team, you said just hours and hours and hours. So
yes.
That's the ultimate testimonial. We do have some questions here. We have about 10 minutes left. So let's dive in. There's quite a few questions about, savings and return on investment. And certainly there's return on investment with time.